It's midday on the 11th of May, it's Sunday. Midday on Sunday. Saturn's in Scorpio. I did a video on Saturn yesterday and it got me thinking all night. I'm actually beginning to see Saturn, you're going to like this, a feminine influence as much as a masculine. And Saturn in Scorpio is certainly raising the imagery and role of the feminine into society in a number of different ways. Since Saturn's been in Scorpio, I can't really, with qualification, talk about what's been happening in every country in the world, but certainly in the UK. Since Saturn's been in Scorpio, we had a year of sudden disgusting revelations around a certain celebrity and his systematic abuse of the system over 30 years with children, which had been followed in this last year by an almost, but not quite, witch hunt-like purge of every complaint from 30 or 40 years ago, which, whilst justified, hopefully will bring an end to this, because there's some sick buggers out there and they do need not so much locking up because they're all old and frail, but certainly shaming at the very least. But this is just the tip. This is not just against women, this is against children. If it's just against women, we have to look deeper for Saturn in Scorpio's real, hardcore message. Look at what's happening to these women in Nigeria and Boko Haram and the abduction of these women. This is the abduction of Persephone into the underworld by Pluto. This is the taking of the bride into the dark and the only returning them impregnated. This is Jupiter opposite Pluto, Uranus square Pluto at its worst. And even worse than, well, as bad as this, there's the ongoing worldwide practice, except in certain Protestant Christian countries, I believe, of FGM, female genital mutilation. It's big in this country because this country's taking a stand against it. It's abhorrent. At the very least, they should lead to 10 years in prison for grievous bodily harm. How dare anyone give themselves the God-given right to interfere with children's genitals? It's an abomination. Saturn in Scorpio is bringing all of this up. And now we're heading into full moon in Scorpio in a couple of days' time, conjunct Saturn. And we are at the bottom of the barrel. We've seen all the stuff so far around the abuse, the degradation of the female, the abuse of children, all coming up. We've also seen correspondingly the other side of Scorpio, the more external power as represented by the bankers. Hey, I've opened a Bitcoin account. I've got a Bitcoin account now. People can pay me by Bitcoins. And guess what? There's no bankers in Bitcoin. And every deal is transparent. And there's no banks. It's a virtual currency. More on that one later. But now we've seen the stuff around Saturn in Scorpio with the money and the corruption and the evil when persecuting those that can't stand for themselves. What's left? Well, politics, of course. And I suspect that the latter phase of Saturn in Scorpio will have political ramifications, and to a lesser extent economic, but certainly political. And I suspect also that at this time with the full moon in Scorpio coming up, we are seeing the rise of a deep, dark feminine. I still believe that females, women, should run all the churches, and ideally all the military and the governments. Then the world would be different. Certainly, there's a lot of increasingly minority, but getting very angry old men out there whose power is being usurped. Their time is over. Saturn in Scorpio is culling the old external power dominance patterns. And hopefully, it's ushering in the windows of opportunity, the bubbles floating across humanity, of the ability to empower ourselves and to rid ourselves of this fear of dominance or of sex or of power or of God that seek to be imposed and dominated on us by priests and bankers and politicians over millennia. Hopefully, the combination of Uranus-Pluto with Saturn and Scorpio It's bringing us to a psychologically mature enough space that we can finally start taking responsibility for ourselves. And at the end of the day, what's the human race for, if not to evolve? Sunday sermon over. Catch you later.